Good evening, everybody. It's me, Comic Crack. It's Monday night, and this deserves a special video. So, we're going to talk about Francois Scoitin after a long hunt and a long wait, as you saw in my video earlier this evening. I finally got my hands on the final volume that I needed from the Hollow Grounds trilogy. This is NOGEGON, with our main character. Um, it's not Olive, is it? Olive was her friend. Blanking on her name already. Anyway, so this is the third part. So this trilogy was published by, this English version rather, was Humanoids back in 2000 and 2001. And it's weird the way, as usual, they shuffle things around when they publish stuff and translate stuff into English. With a guy like Scoitin, I wonder how much he had a hand in that, in wanting them to come out in a certain way, and especially with a creator like him who's so meticulous. It wouldn't surprise me. I don't know those details, but in the English versions, I think it came NOGEGON, Zera, and then Carapacci's. And then when they originally came out in French, it was the reverse order. So Carapacci's was first, Zara was second, and NOGEGON was third. I think as early as the early to mid 80s is when this came out, and I think this was 1990. It might have been like 85, 87, and 90, something like that. But beautiful album-sized books as usual, and I wanted to talk about this, for me, third volume. I'm probably going to read them all again now that I have the trilogy and have a better idea of when they were originally published. I'd like to kind of read them in the order that they were published. Olive does appear in Zara. There is references to the Hollow Grounds universe in this book. Sorry, also about that video, my hands are filthy. It's just paint that I couldn't get off my hands. So I apologize right off the start for the sheer filth that is at my fingertips here. Hopefully it doesn't throw you off too much. This was an amazing volume. The kind of storytelling method used in this one is at the halfway mark, everything starts playing backwards, which really goes to this planet that she's on, or this world that she's engaged in. They're a society that's very focused on symmetry, and you have to live your life in a symmetrical type of fashion. They have police that are going around to kind of ensure that symmetry is maintained at all times. If your name is symmetrical, everything about your life must be symmetrical. Otherwise, you're kind of considered a bit of an outcast or a mutant or a freak. So there's these very strict rules. Gravity works really different in this world. And it's just an excellent story. There's so many. As I kind of got to the halfway point, I was really expecting this halfway moment that would sort of mirror everything directly. That's not the case. There is a mirroring that takes place, but it's as if you took the page and flipped it. So when we get to this first page at the end of the book, we'll start there. Actually, we can see how our story starts off, very specific kind of color palette going on. We start with our kind of bigger top panel there, move to a bit of a thinner one, and then have two at the bottom. When we get to that same page reversed, it flips the pages as well. Scoitin flips the pages as well for the storytelling to kind of take us out of the book. The other thing that happens is we even get the credits again, but this time at the top of the page as opposed to at the bottom of the page. So when I talk about details like that, it's hard for me to imagine that Scoyton didn't have his hand in the kind of layout and planning of this book. And I think it's also, sorry, did I disappear there for a sec? So that's the basic premise of the book. Is our main character is going to search for her friend who's vanished. She's got into this world, starting to figure out the gravity situation and how to maneuver through the world. She meets this agent who kind of takes her along. She ends up stealing his ID from him. After a run-in they have with this other group of people whose deal is they talk with these long pauses. She manages to get into NOGEGON itself and start to explore the city, finding out a little bits and pieces of information about, again, more of the rules of this world and about what happened to her friend, Olive. Again, I'm pretty sure that I should have confirmed that before I left, before I started this, rather. Anyway, so Nell is her name, or Nellie, Nelle. When she's given her NOGEGON name, it's Nellen, Nellen, so it can have that symmetry to her name. She runs into this sculptor who's a quite an interesting character. They have this system of sculpture on this planet where you put this powder on yourself. And I'm going to skip ahead a little bit here. I don't want to show you every single page. You put this powder on yourself and you go through a series of these flashing lights, and it casts images of you as you're descending or as you're moving. So you get these sculptures that are then refined by the sculptor himself into these pieces that sort of end up fitting the architecture of this world. Yeah, it's really incredible. Really, really incredibly done. I would say that when it sort of flips and starts going backwards, for lack of a better word, or we start hitting that center point, there are some moments where it does feel a little forced. He's kind of put himself in a box where now he has to use that format and he has to show certain characters and certain, even though he plays with the positions of the characters within the panels, and which way they're facing and stuff, he sort of has himself in a spot where it does feel like that once or twice, very minimally. But as usual for me with any Scoyton work, I managed to get drawn into the story quite a bit. Again, there's that blurring of reality. There's this kind of familiarity in some of the pages on the latter half of the book. Here you can see Nellen descending and trying it out as he's kind of saying, you know, you don't know what you're doing. You're too rigid. You're way too stiff. You have to relax. And they just keep trying. She wants to keep trying. When we start going to the second half of the book, there's even moments where I felt the movement between panels was this sort of reversing. There's one page in particular where it's kind of accentuated in that way as Nellen's body language is facing away. Somewhere here. She's talking to someone. Yeah, here we go, this page here. So she's talking to someone as she's leaving, in her body positioning and the use of the camera kind of pulling back. It really gave it a feeling, this almost fluid, slow motion feel in my mind's eye of this character moving. His ability to create these kind of worlds that just really draw me in is really, it's just exceptional. And I really enjoy it thoroughly, sitting and flipping through these books. This one, there was a lot more engagement on my part, as through the last half of the book, I kind of occasionally went back to the front to look at that mirrored page just to kind of see how he laid it out. So you really feel connected to the world, your ability to kind of move through it as well. At this point in the story, Nellen is also experiencing some of that exact same thing. She feels that she doesn't have control, but this is all natural. The sculptor ends up saying to her, it's almost your time to go. You're going to be leaving me soon. And she says, well, why are you going to accept it? He's like, well, why wouldn't I accept it? I accept it just like I accept the sunrise and the sunset. It's nothing to kind of fight for. It's a natural order of things here in NOGEGON. So he's kind of come to terms with it very quickly because it's nothing unusual to him. She, however, has this feeling that she's being manipulated, which is amazing to break that wall a little bit, almost at the point of recognizing that she's a character within a story. She doesn't have control over the rooms that she's going into. All of this stuff, she sort of recognizes that for a brief moment in here, which I thought was a really nice touch. The last half also kind of starts going into a little bit of the potential reasoning why this society regards the symmetry as so important and where that's maybe come from. We get another character who's kind of from the authoritarian side, who's even questioning it at the end of the book. It's also scattered with she has some notes in her journal that Nellen has found at some point earlier on in the story. She's found and has started reading, so we're treated to some of those passages as well too. At the end of the book, those passages kind of continue. So this was an amazing end to this trilogy, or like I said, end to me, since this is the final one that I've read. I love it. His coloring is top notch as usual. His characters are very, very much alive. They're very, very real. Again, it's still that sense of this is a reality that's just outside your grasp in our existence. And I really love that about all of his books. I really enjoy that taking me to a place that's very unusual in my experience reading comics. So, I mean, what can I say? Big fucking Scoyton fan, and I'm kind of over the moon that I have this now, that I've completed this one, and I've completed the other ones as well to the IDW with the Leaning Girl that I got. So I'm just thrilled, and now it's on to the next to see what else Scoyton has for me when it comes to English translations of books. These will get read again for sure this year, probably sooner than later. Thanks very much, everybody. Read more comics. Read more Scoyton. Talk to you.